Hi everybody, I'm Melinda Gallant, and have I got a fun and crazy musical Cape conversation for you today. We've got a great guest who's going to be talking a lot about old television, and you people who grew up here in Massachusetts, you're going to recognize this guy. So come along, let's have a Cape conversation. Hi everybody, I am sitting here with a dear man, and we've just been reminiscing about kids. His name is, you'll know him by Sargent Billy, you will. Bill O'Brien, so good to see you.
Nice to see you, Melinda. Been a while.
It has been a while, and you know what the good thing is? Neither one of us have aged.
No.
Right?
Well, you haven't.
Oh, yes, that's it. That's it. I knew it was something.
Yeah.
So, you're not here as Sargent Billy.
No.
No, but you were Sargent Billy.
I was. Actually, I still am.
You are?
To a certain degree, yeah, because I've just done a lot of work for Colonial Radio Theater, and we do audio productions like old radio shows.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and there's one, a series I did called The Adventures of Sergeant Billy and Corporal Sam.
Oh, how fun.
So I'm still in it, but it's radio's tougher than television.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Well, because if you want to talk about my finger picks, you can show, well, here are these beautiful finger picks. Look at them. There's two silver ones and there's a white one. But try to do that on the radio.
Right.
And it's very difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Plus, when you're doing these shows, we're actually supposed to be in a saloon, or we're on riding a horse, and that's not happening. So you're just in front of a microphone and you're imagining that, and then they dub in all that afterwards. So I found it to be a lot tougher than TV.
I did a couple of do you know Steve Oney? He did the radio mystery, Cape Cod radio mystery shows.
Yeah.
I did 2 or 3 of those.
Well, the same idea.
Yeah, and I thought it was fun, and I always thought it was interesting because he would backfill with all this noise that I hadn't heard while I was doing what I was doing.
That's the way they do it now.
Yeah.
In the old days, they used to do it if they wanted a horse.
Right, they do it right next to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I listen to a lot of those old shows now.
Yeah.
And you never realized how good they were.
Oh yeah.
Until you
well,
revisit them.
Where do you tape them? Where do you?
It's all done up in Reading, in North Reading area,
Is that right?
North Shore of Boston. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
So I got a chance to.
So you keep your actor's equity card and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, when I was doing television back years ago, I had to be a member of the Screen Actors Guild, a member of American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, American Guild of Variety Acts, AGVA, and the Musicians Union. I was in all of these unions.
Oh my gosh.
And I tried to get out of a couple of them, but I said, I really am in the Musicians Union already. Yeah, but do you sing? Well, yeah, then you're an act, so you need to be a part of AGVA. Well, what about getting out of the Musicians Union? Well, you play an instrument. So, anyway. Yeah.
So you are doing this. So if I wanted to hear those, how would I hear those?
Well, colonialradio.com.
Great.
You would go to that website, and it would you'd look under comedy, because it is a comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy drama, and it'll pop up, and then you can, it's really kind of strange, because I thought these things cost a lot of money. First of all, I didn't even know what downloading was when I first started doing it.
Well, come on, let's face it, all of us have probably only had a computer for maybe 20 years.
It's amazing. My grandkids come in, oh, Papa, let me see that.
Yeah. I know.
I have no idea what I'm doing. But anyway, you download these shows onto your iPod or iPad or computer or whatever, and then you can play them in your car, or actually it's great. Probably the biggest audience we have are truck drivers and people who are on the road constantly, because they got nothing else to do. They turn this on, and there are 6 shows, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So the whole thing runs about 2 hours and 40 minutes. If you can take it for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Well, you could split it up a little.
Well, you do. Actually, and it's one series, so it's like one show finishes up and it leads you into the next show.
It's not a cliffhanger, is it?
Huh?
It's not a cliffhanger kind of show.
No. It's a comedy.
Yeah. Just silliness.
Yeah, it is funny because these actors are excellent. We have a whole cast of characters, and some of the people play 2 or 3 characters within the show. Some of them sing, some of them play instruments. And a friend of mine by the name of Sam Donato, who used to be on the Boomtown show as a kind of a character actor flowing through when Rex and I were doing the show. He's done a lot of that. So he's actually the guy that kind of introduced me to it. And then Colonial called me and said, "Do you want to do it?" And I said, "I haven't, yeah, I'll try. I haven't tried anything once." And so I ended up writing the theme song and playing the banjo again. And not that I don't play the banjo, but I mean, I play it around the house and drive my wife crazy. You know?
Well, you brought it today, so I hope you're going to play a little something for us.
Sure.
A little bit.
But I drive my wife crazy because when you're learning to play the banjo especially, it's all style.
Yeah.
So you're learning licks. And you might learn a lick like diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle-din, and I'll play it over and over and over again until Helen will go, "Will you shut up?" or play a song, do something, but get off of the diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle. So, but that's how you learn.
You don't have a padded room you can go to or something?
No, she tells me I need a padded room for other reasons, but this guy Sam Donato, who's a great character actor, he plays my sidekick for a change.
Oh,
I was always the sidekick.
So you're kind of the lead guy then?
Yeah, I'm the star of this show.
You're the handsome leading
I'm
man.
the star. Oh yeah,
There you go.
And it's kind of funny because I'm supposed to be, younger.
Yeah.
And it's a story about these 2 non-commissioned officers in the cavalry. So it takes place in the 1870s.
Oh, wow.
The Sargent Billy I did on the television show was just kind of like a spoiled kid or a kid who gets in trouble all the time. And Rex would come in and say, "Okay, that's not how it goes, Bill. You got to do this. And it was always kind of a lesson that was learned during the show. But this other Sargent Billy is really more like on an F Troop. I don't know if you remember the show F Troop.
Oh, sure.
Corporal Agarn and those guys. And so the premise is that we're 2 kind of useless non-coms. I'm trying to be very serious, and Sam was kind of like
the jokester.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Laurel and Hardy type of character.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and so the premise is that this colonel who's stuck in this dust bowl of a fort out in Arizona is trying to get out of there, and he can't get out because he's done some things to put him in that place in the first place. So he figures if he can get rid of these 2 guys, he'll get 2 sharp non-coms in, and they'll make him look good, and then he can get out of there. So the cavalry payroll is stolen again for like the 5th time. So the surrounding forts have sent other guys out to recover this, and they don't come back, or they get killed. Right. So this guy figures if he sends us out, there's not a remote possibility we're gonna get it. Right. And maybe we'll be killed. And if we're killed, then he can get 2 non-coms.
And then that would be even better.
That would be, So that's what happens is we just keep going from one town to the next in search of these people, and it's pretty funny actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. And
Well,
it was
now
fun.
you piqued my interest. I'm going to have to go. So colonial.com.
Colonial Radio.
Colonialradio.com.
Colonialradio.com, and you'll go right to their website, and then they'll have a listing of shows. And they've been around for 20-something years, so. They have a gazillion audio shows, so comedies, dramas, and a guy by the name of Jerry Robbins is a producer-director. He writes the scripts, he produces the shows and directs them, and he actually will take other stories. Trying to think of some off the top of my head, but he'll take these old original stories and he'll rewrite scripts so that the scripts
to make them current day or
no, not to make them, just to follow the storyline.
I see.
But they're scripted by how he writes it, and so that's really pretty creative. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was going on, and they're located in Reading, Mass, of all places.
Yeah, I think it's Reading, North Reading actually. But anyway, I'm surprised that it's not more. I think the kids would really get a kick out of it.
Do they even know about it?
Well,
it's
that's a
all
good
about
point.
Marketing.
Right. And not only that, keeping kids' attention for more than 10 minutes is extremely difficult.
True. It is true.
So when you get them in a car, they haven't got any choice. They can't escape.
Well, yeah, but now, of course, they have their iPads. They've got their
Well,
DVRs,
we just
they've got
plug
all
the
that stuff.
iPad in and put the radio show on.
Put the radio show on. You're right. That's
Actually, my grandkids, I had them trapped for a couple of hours, and I said, "Okay, kids, we're going to listen to the show." So,
good.
what show are you talking about, Papa? So I put the show on, and they thought it was quite funny. Yeah, they laughed, which is interesting because you don't know who you're really appealing to.
Right.
And humor can sometimes be misinterpreted, but they got a big kick out of it.
Oh, that's great.
And they said, one of them said, "Papa, you sound like you're stupid." And I said, "Well, that's what the character's supposed to be."
Right. You're teaching them about acting too, a little bit.
Yeah.
About how you put a character together.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good thing.
Exactly. And I struggled with it initially because I wasn't sure of the character, and as the show went on, you became more comfortable with it, and we did these pretty fast. We probably did in 2 days. We put all 6 shows down, which is tough, and that means a lot of actors coming in and going
out.
And we had the lion share of the script, so it was.
But the good news is you don't have to memorize it.
No.
You have to know it.
You have to know it. You don't have to memorize it. Yeah.
There's a plus.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Age.
And you know what? It's difficult sometimes when you're reading a script to not read it, if you know what I mean, to act it as opposed to reading it.
Right.
And you're also interacting with the other actors at the same time. So you have to really stop and think, what am I doing? Is this guy really making me angry? Am I, am I supposed to be upset with him or what? So
it's all about interpretation. Though.
Yeah. So it's been fun.
Well, and so Sergeant Billy hasn't ridden off into the sunset. He's
No,
still around.
no. I'll tell you a funny story. Lenny and Helen and I have a place down in Naples, Florida, and it's on a golf course. And I was out on the practice tee hitting some balls, and one of my friends came over and he said, "Hey, this guy over here is from Massachusetts." I said, "Oh, no kidding." He says, "Hey, do you remember Rex Trailer and Boomtown and Sargent Billy?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "This is Sargent Billy." And he goes, "No kidding, I thought you were dead." I said, no. Now, my partner Rex was about 18, 19 years older than me, so he did pass away about 3 years ago, so I really miss him terribly because we were together for 51 years.
It's amazing. It was like a marriage.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, actually, I started working on the show as a horse handler at 15.
Wow.
And
did you ride horses back then?
Yeah. So I was introduced to Rex by a guy by the name of Lou Ciafella, who played Chief Black Eagle on Personal Appearances. So he'd get all dressed up in this Indian outfit, and he would do the personal appearances. So he got me the job, and I started working with Rex then, and then I went in the service and ended up in the cavalry at Fort Myer and the honor guard. So that's where Sergeant Billy came from. Actually, I was a sergeant in the cavalry.
Oh my God.
So when I got out, of course, the Arlington National Cemetery, do you remember Kennedy's funeral? Where they had the horse-drawn wagon. Those are the horses that I was dealing with. So I did that for about a year and a half, and I got out, and I was a sergeant. And then I was doing nightclubs, singing and playing. And I called Rex and asked him if Dick, who played his original sidekick, Dick Kilbride, if he could get me a manager. I needed a manager or booking agent. So he did, and I started doing all the clubs in Boston, Brandy's, Your Father's Mustache, and all that. And I was a single act then because when I was in the Army, I ended up in a folk group with two other guys.
So this is probably what, in the early
63, I went in the Army right out of high school.
If it was a folk group, it would have been the 60s.
Yeah, folk group was really big at that time. And so from 63 to 66, I spent first part of it in Korea. Nice place to visit.
Nice and cold.
Oh, it was cold and hot.
Cold
and hot,
That's what I've heard from other folks, so.
Yeah. And it was 10, 11 years after the war, so it really wasn't prime location. It's changed a lot, obviously. And then I came back and I was assigned to the old guard at Fort Myer in the Arlington National Cemetery, and ended up in the cavalry there. And so when I got out, I was a single act, and so Dick got me bookings all over the place. Rex says, "Well, why don't you come in and do the show?"
Oh, wow. So I never saw the show because I'm from the Midwest. We had our kind of a similar type shows in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have the exact same show, and so
Right.
I never saw the show.
Yeah, the Midwest, you probably didn't have cowboys, but we had cowboys in the East.
I know. Well, we didn't really.
No.
Actually, it was Flippo the Clown, so which is really funny. But he had a big show, and he sang and he danced, and he was a clown.
Yeah, sure.
But he brought in all these different people, and it was, there was always a moral to the story at the end of it and all.
Well, we had Frank Abrouche played Bozo in town, so we had a Bozo, pardon the expression. We had Major Mudd, Ed McDonald played Major Mudd. We had Willie Whistle. He was on Channel 38, and there was Rex and myself.
So are they available now somewhere? I mean, are they available now, those old shows?
No,
They
Kinescope, right.
They were on Kinescope and they went away.
What we would do is we had 3 hours live on Saturday, and 2.5 taped for Sunday. So
wow.
it was a whirlwind. But what they would do is in those days there were 2.5-inch tapes. They would tape the show, and then they were so big. I mean, these reels were this big.
Yeah.
And they would tape the show, and then they would hold that tape for like 30 days for the FCC to evaluate if you said something wrong, and then they'd want to go back and review the tape. But at the end of that 30 days, they would just reuse the tape again.
Isn't that funny?
So, so none of that. Some of it is saved. We actually do have some that maybe we can show some later on. But we do have shows that were either Kinescope, which Kinescope is nothing more than putting filming a TV.
Right, right.
You just show what's on TV and you actually film it.
Right.
And so there is some of that. And actually we also did 2 years on Channel 25 from 76 to 78. And that we do have some of those shows that were on tape. So I do have, I think years ago.
You just wonder, could you go to YouTube and find it? Because
Yeah.
now you can find everything on YouTube.
Yeah, that's
Some things
true.
you don't want to find on YouTube, but you can find it on YouTube.
If you go on YouTube, we also did a trip to California every year for Crimson Travel for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Rex and I would headline this trip to California, and in its biggest year, the 10th anniversary, we took 2,300 people.
Wow.
I know.
That
It was
isn't
amazing.
just like that isn't a regular Cape Cod bus tour.
Yeah. Well, it was probably the largest peacetime movement ever,
I was going to say.
And we would go.
Forced march to Baton.
Right. We would take over Anaheim almost.
Yeah,
We would
wow.
stay right next to the Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then we would go to Universal Studios and
do all the stuff.
Hollywood and all that. And we would go to Hollywood. It was funny. We'd go to Universal Studios, and there'd be somebody performing, some show being taped at the time. And so one of the actors who would come on, when we would have people having lunch, we'd have a big stage, and we'd go out and say hello to the folks and all this stuff. And we would bring these actors out who, were famous, but most of these kids didn't know who the heck they were. So they wouldn't get the response that Rex and I would get. And they would say to us, who are you? Who are you guys? And we'd have to say, look, we brought our own audience. Nobody in California knows who we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a funny story, but it's very similar. I for 2 years went to the Improv Asylum up in Boston and did their training center. And you have a graduation, and I made it through with people that were about 25 years younger than me. And it was kind of interesting, but we had our big graduation show, and of course they were all talking about, well, you're from the Cape, and and the joke was they'd call me the old lady. Usually it was in kind terms, but that's how they referred to me, the old lady. So I said, okay guys, just keep it up. I was just thinking that. So I brought a bus up of people from Cape Cod, about 50 people, so over 3/4 of the audience were my people, so anything I did. So I know exactly how you felt, and you were kind of like, ta-da!
Yeah, that was crazy. David Hartman, you remember David Hartman?
Of course, he was on Good Morning America.
Yeah, great guy.
He used to have a place, I think, here on the Cape, too.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I think so, in Osterville.
But we ran into him at Lion Country Safari one year, and he spent time with our people, and it was great. And so we probably were with him maybe a couple hours.
Yeah.
And he was just wonderful. So the next year, he was doing a show called Lucas Tanner. And Lucas Tanner was
Sure.
I don't know if he was a school teacher or something. I don't know. It
Yeah,
had something
Lucas
to do
Tanner,
with.
he was a school teacher.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'd go to Universal Studios, and then we'd find out, we'd look at the sheet to see who was taping there that day. So we saw that Lucas Tanner was being taped at Griffith Park.
Yeah.
So Rex and I, we got our people into the studio, and we'd seen it 150 times, so we really didn't care too much to see it again. So we got in the car and we went down to Griffith Park, and there was a whole crew set up, I mean, probably 40, 50 people. And then David comes running out, some kid comes running out of this building, and David comes running after him and goes, "Hey, so-and-so, stop, hold on 1 minute." He looks over and he sees Rex and I, and he goes, "Rex, Billy, how you doing?" We go, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
He says, "Hold it, stop everything."
Was he from Massachusetts or something?
I don't, he might have been, but no, he remembered us just from
Oh,
the
from the
previous
previous
year.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even put it together.
Which was unbelievable
Oh my
to
gosh,
me. I
yeah.
can't remember who I met yesterday, never mind.
What you had for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. So he was wonderful. I mean, he came over, we had our cameraman with us, he shot some
that's
pictures and
great.
stuff,
Oh,
but he was
that's
just a
great.
terrific
Good,
guy.
Good. Well, we segue now. You've got kids, you live here in Sandwich. You've lived here in Sandwich a long time, right? In the 70s or 80s?
Yeah, we moved here in '79.
Wow, a year before me.
Yeah.
You're just that much
And did
older.
you move from the Midwest
We
to
moved
here?
from the Midwest here, yeah.
Kind of a culture shock. Well, actually the Cape's laid back.
Well, yeah, but it was a culture shock.
Yeah.
People are different in the Midwest for sure.
Right. Cost of living was probably higher here than it was.
Oh my gosh, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a lot higher.
Right.
But yeah, it all turned out well. I mean, we're glad we raised the 3 kids here, and they've done well. And as yours have.
Yeah.
Yours are into the police department thing.
I have my son Matt is a patrolman, and he's actually the canine officer
Oh, is that right?
in Sandwich, and
Yeah.
he's assigned to the task force in Hyannis,
Yeah.
the drug task force.
Yeah.
We're like, I hate to
Yeah.
say that, but
Yeah.
he's got a dog, Coda, and Coda is a remarkable little dog that sniffs out drugs.
Yeah.
And then my son-in-law, Terrence Murphy, is a
Right.
detective sergeant,
Right.
and my daughter Melissa is married to Terrence, and my daughter-in-law married to Matt is Bobby Joe.
Oh my gosh.
And I have 5 grandkids.
Yikes.
Melissa has 2 boys, Logan and Camden. And Matt has 2 girls and a boy. Aiden is the oldest. Olivia is the next, and Brielle.
Wow.
So, and they're all in town.
And they're all in town.
It's great,
That is great. But what are you doing now? So you've hung up your spurs.
Well, actually, I got an interesting life, because when I got out of the service, I was doing nightclubs, and I actually started flying, as learning how to fly, and I did it all on the GI Bill, which was great.
Yeah.
And I ended up going all the way up, flight instructor to airline transport pilot, and so while I was doing the show, I was a full-time flight instructor at the same time. So flying was, I ended up, when the show was canceled, I ended up being a pilot full-time.
Yeah.
And so when the...
For private planes? Small
yeah,
planes, big
private
planes?
and corporate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had like almost 7,000 hours, and I just couldn't get a job on the airlines because the Vietnam War was ending in
Right,
'73.
all those guys were coming in.
All those pilots coming back, and they just walked into the airline. So I ended up as an air traffic controller.
Wow.
And I
Where?
took at here in Otis. And
Oh, is that right?
that's how I ended up on the Cape. I transferred from Hanscom Field. I had like 4 years there. I transferred to the Cape because you needed to have radar in order to get any promotion status. I wanted to be the tower chief, so the tower chief said to me, "Well, if you want to be tower chief, you're going to have to get some radar." So I said, "Where do I go?" He said, "Well, go to Boston, go up to Burlington or Cape Cod." I went, "Cape Cod?"
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah." I said, "Cape Cod has a radar?" He said, "Yeah, Otis Air Force Base. It's a radar, what they call a RAPCON, radar approach control. And they control pretty much the Cape and islands and,
Right.
and then feed."
And it has a lot of traffic.
oh.
People don't realize how much traffic.
In the
is in
summer, it is a nut house.
I've heard it's like the #1 place on the East Coast.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because in the winter, though, it's like, what do I do now? You
Yeah,
know?
dust fall.
But in the summertime, it was crazy. Even the guys in Boston, guys and gals in Boston would say, "We don't envy you guys in the summertime because
Yeah.
it's just crazy." And then the strike happened in 80, 80, 81.
Yeah.
I got involved with that. There wasn't much choice. I just checked out. So you're either going to go with the rest of the guys or you're going to be scab, and I didn't want to do that. So, but as soon as the strike happened, I just moved on, and I got into financial services.
Wonderful.
And I've been in financial services for 36 years.
Wow.
Have my own business here in town with my partner, Joe Sullivan, called Comprehensive Strategies. And we're full financial planning firm. And I'm semi-retiring at the end of the year. So,
oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm getting tired.
Yeah. But you're doing a podcast. What's this all about? Explain this to me.
The radio show?
Yeah.
Well, that, as I say, I'm kind of excited about now because originally my plan was to be an entertainer.
Right.
And of course that all got disrupted because I was lacking talent.
See, I wanted to dance and sing on Broadway, and that was my problem. I can't sing or dance. And I've always wanted to do it. So.
I know. So, I mean, I had an opportunity for an MGM contract when I was in the service, and then when I went to the A&R guy, I played my tapes. He said, "Hey, this is great. Folk music's big. We're going to love having you." And I said, "Well, there's two other guys." And he said, "Well, where are they?" I said, "One's in Fort Belvoir, one's in..." And he said, "What?" I said, "Well, we're in the Army." He said, "When do you get out?" I said, "I don't know, about a year and a half or so." He said, "See you later."
Yeah.
So I did record several. I have a couple of songs and 45s that came out, and Rex and I did a couple of albums. But that's what I envisioned myself as being a performer. And then I realized that, like in Hollywood, everybody wants to be an actor.
Yeah.
There's about 3%.
Or New York.
There's about
either coast.
There's about 3% of them that actually work.
Right.
The rest of them are, doing dishes and parking cars, like that song, "Do You Know the Way to San Jose?" So I was always doing something else. I was always doing something to pay the bills.
Right.
And the television show was great. But we used to get paid to do commercials.
Sure.
And then there was a group called Action for Children's Television that lobbied to have performers stop doing commercials on their own show. We could do it on your show, but I could not do it on my own show.
Right.
Well, Hoods was one of our big sponsors, and Drake's Cakes and Pepsi and all that. And if you can't advertise for that on the show, then so commercial broadcasting suffered a little bit, and a lot of great shows went off the air as a result of the commercialism of it.
So tell me about the podcast, though.
The radio show?
Yeah, the radio show.
Well, that's I pretty much covered it.
Okay. So that's I thought you had a separate one.
No.
Was just okay.
No,
that's where I got confused.
No, that's what it is.
And trust me, it's not you. It's my confusion.
Okay. But and we're doing another one. We have another. I don't think it'll be 6 episodes. It might be more like 3 or 4. But this time, the same Colonel, because we did come back.
Kind of a Colonel Klink, only.
He just still wants to get rid of us. So now they're going to send us up into Canada after some rogue lumberjack or something. I don't know. But it's so I'll get a chance to write some more songs. And
wonderful.
Yeah. So
well, speaking of songs, I see a banjo.
Yeah.
You didn't bring it to look at. I know you brought it. Maybe you might play us some.
Well, sure.
This
is what they call, I don't know if you know much about banjos, but this is what they call a 5-string banjo. And I've actually had this banjo, this particular one, since 1962.
Wow.
This banjo has been all over the world. It is probably the most important thing that I have, other than my wife and my family.
Right.
Because this pretty much got me everything that I got in life, whatever that may be.
Wow.
Because when I was in Korea and playing, I would do officers' clubs.
Yeah.
And I got to meet this colonel, and he said to me, "Well, where are you going to be assigned when you go back, Bill?" And I said, "I have no idea." He said, "Well, if you don't like your assignment, why don't you come see me? I'll be in the Pentagon." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he said, "Well, I'll be in charge of reassignment." I said, "For the Army?" He said, "Yeah."
Wow.
I took his card.
Yeah.
And when I was being transferred back from Korea I was supposed to go to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
That's a
And
hopping kind of place.
Yeah, and they called
Well,
it
it's
Little.
better than Fort Polk, Louisiana, though.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They called it Little Korea, and so I said the last thing I need is to go have some more Korea experience. So,
Yeah.
so I went to the Pentagon and I talked to this colonel, and he said, "Well, where do you want to go?" I said, "Well, anywhere on the East Coast is okay with me." And so he said, "Well, let me see what I can do." So I came back home, and then I got my assignment, and I was assigned to the Honor Guard at Fort Myers. So,
Wow.
so it did the banjo.
And you knew how to handle horses.
I'm sorry.
And you knew how to handle horses.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, so I ended up,
you got to use all
a
your talents.
wandering minstrel.
That's wonderful. So what are you going to play for us here?
Well, this is the, I'll try to play this for you. This is the theme song to that show, and it goes like this. Way out west is where we want to be, riding in the U.S. Cavalry. They said that we'd find glory. What we found was another story. Riding in the U.S. Cavalry, living on hardtack, jerky, pork, and beans. Gets a little ripe around camp, if you know what I mean. Our butts are saddled sore, but we couldn't ask for more than riding in the U.S. Cavalry. Riding in the U.S. Cavalry. We spend all our pay in just one day, 'cause room and board are free. Riding in the U.S. Cavalry. We're just as proud as we can be. Let's forget about the glory. Come and listen to our story. Riding in the U.S. Cavalry, Cavalry. Riding in the U.S. Cavalry.
Whoa. Thank you. That
So-
was great.
Well, you're welcome. That's the.
And it's always happy. Banjos are always happy. I think it was Steve Martin. I saw him live.
Actually, he's a heck of a
Oh,
banjo
he's an
player.
unbelievable banjo player. But
Yeah.
it's all about, it's such a happy thing. You can't be sad if you're listening to a banjo.
Right, right. It's true. And you can. The thing I like about this particular banjo, and this is a long neck banjo, and the first guy, the guy who
Yeah,
writes.
because they're usually not that long.
No, they usually end right here.
Yeah.
But a guy by the name of Pete Seeger wanted to be able to play open music, because the banjo is really kind of tuned in an open key or chord. And so he wanted to play in lower keys, E and A, etc. And so he was able to have a banjo built that had 3 extra frets. So Gibson, this is Gibson, obviously copied the idea from Vega, and they developed this banjo, or designed this banjo. And the good thing about this type of banjo is, because there are several types. There are plectrum banjos that you use for jazz.
Yeah.
And then there are bluegrass banjos, like. Like Foggy Mountain Breakdown.
Yeah.
But then with this thing, you can still strum it.
And it still has a good sound to it, yeah.
What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. Life is a cabaret. And so you can do a lot with this.
Sure, sure.
So I really, really and truly enjoy. I play guitar, and when I went to Berklee College of Music for a year, and when I went there, it was a guitar, pretty much jazz school, and so guitar was my primary instrument. But if I'm just sit around and play something that's fun,
Yeah.
I would play the banjo,
Right.
because it's.
Were you going to sing us one more?
Um,
Can you sing us out?
I will sing you out, and I will sing you out with the tune that Rex and I sang on the show for.
Now, you realize there are people in Sandwich that watched you as kids. All
Yes,
over
and they remind me of that too.
Especially when they come up to you and you go, wait, that person with white hair? You couldn't have possibly watched me.
I was looking at some of the old tapes, and I haven't used this in a while, so.
Well, we always have to tune up.
And I was looking at tapes, and I saw this guy with all this hair and this young look, and I went, "Who is that guy?" And so when we did the audio show, they took pictures of us and in uniforms and all this stuff.
Right.
Well, I had a goatee, so they had to actually eliminate that. So it's amazing what they can do with pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all these actresses and actors,
I
and
know.
they don't look like that. in
No,
real
we
life.
all know that. We all know
And so by the time they get through, I had darker hair on the side, and I had a mustache, and the beard was gone. And I went,
What?
"Holy cow, that's amazing!" But this is a song that Rex and I sang. You wouldn't have remembered this, but a lot of people will.
Oh no, I'm sure. It's just I didn't grow up here, so.
So long, folks. It was nice to meet you on Boomtown. And real soon we hope we can greet you on Boomtown. You can bet we'll have lots of western fun and excitement for you. We'll ride in rope, do square dance, or shoot a gun, and we'll sing a song or two. Come along, folks, 'cause we're gonna start the fun in Boomtown. From 6 to 60, there's something for everyone in Boomtown. So do-si-do and swing around. Get your pal and promenade down to Boomtown. Yeah!
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. Well, it was wonderful talking to you.
Well, it's
Thank
been
you
good
for
talking to
having
you, and it's colonialradio.com.
Colonialradio.com.
And you're looking for Sargent Billy
Yeah,
and
The
his
Adventures of
Sargent
Sargent
Billy.
and Corporal Sam.
The Adventures of Sargent Billy and
Actually,
Corporal Sam.
if you Google Sargent Billy, SGT Billy,
Yeah, you come up.
It'll come,
Okay,
yeah.
that's wonderful.
I'm famous.
You are famous. You're infamous too, I bet.
Infamous.
I'd much rather be infamous.
Actually, I saw your stuff on YouTube.
Oh, dear God.
I know, that's great.
Yeah,
It's amazing what you can.
Oh,
what you
I
can get
know,
on
I know.
YouTube.
There's a lot of craziness on there. Yeah, yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about you, from your acting and
Well, I do a little
performing
bit of
and-
acting, and I do a one-woman show, and I do directing, and I do a little of this and a little of that.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah.
But I love doing this because it's great. We've got a great audience out there, and we're shipped all over Massachusetts now, so it's great fun.
Well, great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So thank you again, sir.
You're more
Good
than
to see you.
welcome.
Sergeant Billy, oh my gosh, I wish I grew up in Massachusetts. He must have been wonderful. What a great guy he is. And he's got kids, and he lives here in Sandwich, and it's all that good stuff. I want to thank you for joining me today. We had a wonderful time. And don't forget to go online and take a look at colonialradio.com. See if you can find Sergeant Billy and his sidekick Sam. Corporal Sam, I think was the name. In any case, I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time on another Cape Conversations.
I want to get, somebody's missing again. Where's Sergeant Billy? Hurry up! Look out! Oh, Bill! Oh, wow. Well, I guess he's not the superhero that he thought he was.
Howdy, kids. Oh boy, I gotta work on that jump a little bit.
Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, I gotta tone up my muscles. You know, it's tough being a superstar.
Okay, everybody join in and sing along with our Boomtown theme song. How we're glad to meet you.